So on a final note, we already talked about the U.S. government a little bit. It turns out they have some other news as well with a new administration. We see a new CIO in place. And this one got our attention because it was a kind of an interesting choice that they made there.
Oh, that is the understatement. And I actually had missed this. And I almost wish I had missed it. You you send it over and it's like, oh, you got to be kidding me. So basically there is a federal CIO position. Most people don't even know it exists. And but the Trump administration has named a gentleman by the name of Greg Bashia, I guess, into this role. And the most notable thing, I mean, he has a reasonable career. It's not like he's like a nobody at all, but most notably, he's never been a CIO, and now he is arguably the CIO of the largest organization in the world, and it sort of makes very little sense on a lot of levels. It's I have sort of mixed feelings about it. So the former CIO was a woman named Claire Marturana, I think how you say it. I had the opportunity to meet with her and talk with her a few years back. Sharp as a tack, had been around, CIO roles within the federal government all over the place. Exactly what you'd expect and what you would want in it. And so from that to this, you're like scratching your head. On the other hand, the federal CIO role is sort of a bully pulpit role. Every government agency, every federal agency has its own CIO. And within that, there's typically layers of CIOs deep. I mean, this is such a massive bureaucracy that there's no one person that controls all of it anyway. So this is really about overall direction and strategy. Um, but to me, that makes the stakes even higher. And this gentleman just doesn't really seem to have the chops for it. So I guess we'll see. But I mean, what was your reaction to it?
Yeah, I found it interesting that Barbachi's biggest experience seems to be doing security and investigations on behalf of Palantir, which we know has been doing some spook level, interesting, deep AI work on behalf of the government and the military for a while now. So I would think that he's probably going to be pretty good at digging into specific details and looking for some root cause analysis challenges, but I will be interested to see how he does from a management perspective, because as we all know, the federal departments and the federal government it's an ocean liner. And regardless of what happens from shrinking the government perspective, the federal government organization is so large that you have to be able to figure out how to guide that ocean liner with the 300 plus million people who live here and the $6 trillion of payments and business that happens every year. All of that stuff has to be managed in some way. So we'll see how that goes. I do expect that he'll be able to do some of the interesting forensic work that this current administration seems focused on.
Yeah, well, and that's sort of, I guess, what worries me because that's not what the role, in my opinion, anyway, really should be. This is about what we need, and this is where I think even Claire, from the standpoint that, like, for instance, I didn't know she'd even elevated into the role, probably didn't do a great job with this, but she was at least more capable of it. I think the primary job of this role is to cast this vision out about what should that be, and maybe she did it internally, but at least publicly, right? Putting this out there about this is the role of IT. This is the challenge the CIOs I think have had across the board for the last 2 decades. It's like the
Mhm.
CIO needs to be this very public role, carving a strategic vision of the future of how technology is a transformational agent for the organization, whatever organization it's a part of. And I'm really struggling to see how this gentleman's gonna be able to do that. But I guess, let's give him the benefit of the doubt and fingers crossed that he isn't just going to be using this as another way to weaponize the federal government. But I guess we'll see.
We'll see. And I think that's also a note for the CIO office in general, thinking about your own role in celebrating tech as part of your organization and showing how that we say digital transformation all the time, but really how that digital footprint and your management capabilities reflect the needs of the business. That's the job. And if you're not articulating it, nobody's going to be doing it for you, and you're not going to be coming off looking so great in the long run.
Well said, exactly.
Yeah.